You want answers? You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
Well, welcome back to Monday Night Live. It's not only, well, the zoo, it's the zoo. It could be Sunday. Normally it's Sunday, but now it's Monday because, well, I had a long weekend. I hope you had a good weekend. But here we are. It is Monday Night Live. This is the zoo. This is where we bring YouTube and Facebook together like peanut butter and jelly, and we talk about all the crap that's going on, folks. And I mean, there is a lot. I mean, over the weekend, I visited the news articles, the email, the texts. I stepped away from all of the fun that I was having to discover even more fun with all that's happening, And, a lot of people think I must be having just a whale of a time, all kinds of fun all the time. But does your idea of fun have life-threatening situations in it? Bone-crunching pain, right? Horrific wind, sun, shivering cold at night. Well, if you heard me describe my fun like that, you may not want to go on vacation with me because my training partner is relentless and make sure that I am always put to the test. The perfect training partner, huh? Yes, let's see. Over the weekend, I was blown out. Well, I was blown way out of bounds. Let's see. I was dunked in the water, faced walking to shore a mile away through mud that was literally knee deep, dredging through knee deep mud. Got stung by a jellyfish. Let's see. Didn't have proper blankets, so shivering at night. It was a good old time. See, I can tell the story like that and make it sound terrible, or I could tell you I had the time of my life. You get to decide what's right for you, just like you need to decide what is the best prepping for you. I had the time of my life getting prepared. This was my vacation weekend with a very dear and close family member, training partner, etc. I can't tell you guys everything about my life, but I can share with you some of the highlights. And I really think that there's someone out there with a life insurance policy on me that's just waiting to be collected on. Anyways, I've always said that even unicorns are dangerous because they have 4 hooves and a horn, and they'll get you. Anyways, no, I had a fantastic time this weekend. Everything I just told you about the environmental conditions I was in were true. I also had a lot to drink and enjoyed myself immensely. Getting prepared, folks. You could look at everything as a good time or a bad time. You can look at the world and say it's trying to kill me or I'm getting prepared for more. Right? I have a unique perspective on life. I know you must also, because we're always here sharing. And this is Monday Night Live. This is your chance. You can hit that super chat button and hit me with a question, a statement, a comment, a topic, a person, an event, a timeline, some history, some future, current events. You can even play One Lie, One Truth, also known as Stump the John, where you tell one lie and one truth and see if I can pick it out. Anyways, this is your chance to be famous right here on the Prepared Mind channel. You make a super chat donation, you get on the board, and I'll make you famous. Okay, let's do this. Let's step right into it, folks. It has hit the fan. I hope you're in a good area of the country. I hope you are surrounded by people you love. But trust me, the federal government does not love you. Your state government doesn't love you. Your local government, no one loves you, folks. But let me tell you about our commander-in-chief, Biden. He has announced his new ghost gun rule. And he's also named his new alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives bureaucrat leader, whoever that nominee is. I don't even want to say his name. I already talked about his name a couple of days ago. But this is incredible, folks. There's a ghost gun rule. Now, a ghost gun is a piece of metal. And the rule is that it's 80% made into a firearm receiver. But it's only 80%, 20% still being done, 20% still needing machining and professional work, professional care in order to make it into a useful tool. Now, all that said, you are permitted as a free human being to make, right, all the guns you want for yourself. But the federal government is, for some reason, making hay out of ghost guns. The same way years ago they started calling assault weapons black rifles, right? Assault rifles. They had to come up with a term to go after guns. We've had a couple of mass shootings lately, and none of them involve ghost guns. But what has happened is Americans have discovered that they can buy these 80% ghost guns, which aren't guns. They're not guns. Not by a legal definition, not by a bureaucratic definition. They're basically a paperweight made out of aluminum. So they created this term ghost gun to identify people who can sidestep all the other government taxes and bullshit and make for themselves a gun. It'd be like the government saying, no, you can't grow your own food in the garden. You've got to go to the store and buy it and pay our taxes. They don't want you doing stuff for yourself, folks. This ghost gun thing, they're upset because Americans are avoiding government, avoiding taxes. They're actually building things that are useful for themselves. So Biden was saying that, ghost guns, you get them off the street, there'll be less crime. Ghost guns, you get them off the street and you remove criminals from the street. Well, the only way to make people criminal is by taking what they legally own and saying it is illegal, right? Making something that was once legal, now illegal. And that's a great way to create crime where it once didn't exist. But I want to ask this more important question. What is more dangerous to you? What do you think is more dangerous to America? A ghost gun that requires machining and expert assembly, or a ghost citizen with no identifying number, no serial number, made in Mexico, and illegally smuggled across Biden's open border, right? Hey, Joe, it's the hand that holds the gun that's dangerous, not the gun. And stop letting millions of illegals that do commit robbery, rape, prostitution, theft, and all manner of crime. What's more dangerous, a ghost gun or a ghost citizen? See, Biden wants serial numbers on these guns because serial numbers stop crime? Hardly, folks. All the serial number is a way for the government to register a gun, to control a gun, and to try and take away the gun. But they don't want to do that to immigrants here. They don't want to give them a serial number or social security number, so they have to pay their tax, and that they can be controlled, regulated, and made illegal if they misbehave. Right? These people come across the border. We don't know who they are, what they've done in the past. We don't know their name, nothing. And they're given a free pass. Yeah. Perfect work. Thanks, Biden. Unbelievable. So let's kick off the first super chat donation with Lisa Curtis, who sent $22.30. That's a $2.23. Awesome donation. One of my favorite numbers, 223. It's right up there with 556, 762, 30-6, and you name the number, they're all good. But anyways, thank you, Lisa, very much for supporting the Prepared Mind channel with the super chat donation. And she says, I'm very much enjoying this time with like-minded family. Thank you for all that you do, and thank you, Lisa. Spending time. I think I'm starting to notice that the quality of people that I spend time with is the most important thing. Whether it's man kidnapping me and taking me for a ride in the toy hauler, almost against my will, or whether it's going with family or family coming to me, spending time around them. It's just wonderful. Family and friends, right? Someone you can really trust, someone that you know what they're thinking. And I'm tired of this anonymous thing. Am I going to trust that weird person over there? Should I trust a coworker who I caught saying some very stupid things like, I sure hope everyone who hasn't gotten the Jim Jones juice dies. And then they turn around and see you and they're like, oh, yeah. If I looked at somebody, folks, when I was employed and said, you know what? I hope you die, motherfucker. I could probably be fired, right? There goes John using his white privilege, putting death on people, putting the hex on them. Yeah, you can't do that, right? Those are the people I don't trust. Now it comes down to who do I trust? Who do I really want to share my time with? Because that is my most valuable asset. If I had some money, that would be nice. But I don't have that. I have time. That's all we all have. Truly, we're given so much time in this life. And ultimately, that time goes away. So we spend it with those we like, doing things we like. And I'm glad to be spending my time right now with you guys because I want people prepared. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and a plan. That's what we need to get together, folks. All of that. So I enjoy spending my time here because I'm helping people and I'm spending time with quality. And it's an incredible feeling. It really is. It's an absolutely incredible feeling to do what I do with you guys. Do I like getting stung by jellyfish? Not particularly. Do I like freezing? No, not at all. But I do like doing things and enjoying all that life has to offer. Now, let us move on if we shall. Russia and Ukraine are intensely publicizing and screaming and yelling, false flag, Russia's false flagging. And then Russia's, Ukraine is false flagging, right? They're doing this. They're going to do that. They've done this. They've done that. They're all, they're doing this. The same thing the United States of America was doing to Russia. So Russia started doing it to the United States government. Screaming false flag. They're doing stuff and, it's almost comical. It's like a local pissing match between two chicken shit local politicians. It is incredible, folks. It feels small time, right? With extraordinary claims of brutality by Ukraine, right? It's boring. It's becoming boring and passé. Not for me. I'm reporting what I'm seeing in the news, the world, right? So, I have to ask this question, false flag. How many tens of thousands of people has China murdered in their country, their own citizens in the last 2 decades? How many? Tens of thousands? How many millions of Chinese have died at the hands of their own government, a communist nation, in the last, 80, 90 years? How many? It's incredible. And we're supposed to worry about a couple of accusations by a lying Ukraine and a supposed lying Putin. They're all liars. Why should I believe or care about any of this? Really. On my travels, I did see a lot of Ukraine flags. And I also saw some idiot standing there holding a sign saying, had a Ukraine flag drawn on it and said, "Stop the genocide." And I wanted to ask him, except he wouldn't have had the answer anyway. I wanted to say, how many people, were the victims of Ukraine atrocity by the Azov battalion, by other Ukraine military units? How many? And my guess is he would have no idea what I was talking about, because most people, folks, are stool pigeons, right? They're holding the bag. They're carrying the water for billionaires who are just getting themselves stinking rich off of this one way or the other. And that's really what it's about. For them, that's really what it's about. For us, it's about lying and tricking people. All right, we got Heidi Carson checking in with a $10 super chat PayPal donation. Thank you, Heidi, very much. She's here every week. She makes people smile. Keep on keeping on. Heidi, and be safe up there in the Great White North. Now we got Alex Jones checking in with a $5 Canadian super chat donation. And he says, for the alcohol fund. And I've got to tell you, thank you, Alex Jones. Is this the real Alex Jones? I've got to believe it really is. Thank you, buddy. Yep. Alcohol fund, very necessary. When we talk about being prepared, food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, right? Plan. Be sure to include alcohol in your preps. Number one, rubbing alcohol as a cleaner and a disinfectant to sanitize clean surfaces, clean cuts and wounds, first aid. Also have alcohol like a vodka or whiskey, if not for yourself, for others. You want to talk about having a valuable commodity in hard times. Alcohol will be it, folks. We got a good crowd turned out. We're at 300 people live right now on The Prepared Mind at the zoo on Monday night, and we're here. Next weekend, by the way, I believe is Easter weekend. At least that's what I was told by family members. So we're going to have some Easter fun. I hope you will as well. But folks, spring has sprung, and they have sprung the SHTF, the Great Reset, all over us. All over us. And it is coming for us big time. Share that URL. Share that internet address with everyone you know, folks, so they can get prepared. What am I talking about? This is what we can expect in the United States of America this fall. The first Tuesday of this November is going to be the day Americans vote. Now, they just had an election in France, and for their president, right, their leader. And the top two winners go on to have another vote to see out of the two of them which will be president. So the two winners, number one, Emmanuel Macron. Number two, Marine Le Pen. She's back. A French nationalist. She believes more in freedom. She believes more in liberty. She believes more in France than Emmanuel Macron, who invites illegals in hand over fist and then says he's going to piss off the French who don't behave and obey his edicts, his commands. Well, those are the two candidates who have moved along. And it really doesn't matter who was doing what, because this was going to happen anyway. Antifa, folks, they've begun rioting across France in French cities because they didn't like the election results. Now, Antifa, who are they? What are they? Well, they're anti-fascists and they like communism. So Emmanuel Macron, folks, is a socialist, but a social fascist. He is not a social communist. Even though they're ugly twins or even stepsisters, right? He's still that. And Marine Le Pen, well, she's a nationalist. She believes in France. You know, Vive la France, Charles de Gaulle and the whole bit. That's what she believes in. But Antifa, they decided their idea was to riot, right? They are not just an American issue, Antifa. They are not about freedom or democracy, voting, or anything good. They are communists and murderers at best, and it is a worldwide problem, Antifa. Someday, folks, there's going to be a hunting season when the movie or the movies rather called The Purge, movies, TV series, anything that kind of adopts that narrative, that idea that people are going to start hunting each other. When that first came out, I thought, that's rather fantastic. That's rather off the hook. Seems a bit unbelievable. Well, lo and behold, yeah, it's actually starting to happen, this idea, and people are welcoming it. They want to see it. They're tired of people like Antifa being allowed to run around, violate the law, violate rules, and get away with it. We all believe they should be punished. Now, having to do with elections, it seems that the North and the South are really starting to show quite a difference in where we think we're going as a nation. So in Alabama, the governor there, Kay Ivey, has put out an amazing campaign ad. And the left-wing people, the Antifa types, the progressives, the open-minded, nice people. No, they're not open-minded and they're not nice. They're losing their minds. She had a great message in this campaign. And allow me, if you will, to briefly read what she said. Here in Alabama, we're making sure that never happens. And this was in response to the 2020 election. So Governor Ivey said, we're making sure that never happens, meaning a 2020 type result. We have not and will not send absentee ballots to everyone and their brother. We banned corrupt curbside voting, and our results will always be audited. I'm Kay Ivey. The left is probably offended. So be it. As long as I'm governor, we're going to protect your vote. Well, congratulations, Governor Ivey. There's a problem, folks, out there. And I'm really hoping that it is discovered and that these people fully wake up. Right? Kay Ivey, Governor Abbott of Texas, Governor DeSantis of Florida. At the very beginning of Cerveza-Bug in 2020, they got sucked in just the same way you and I did. Is it real? Is it not? Is it as bad as they say? Or is it, even worse than they say? How do we know? We had to trust somebody. And it turns out we were just lied to left and right. Some governors caught on quicker than others. DeSantis at the front saying enough of this shit. Right? Other states took a lot longer to figure it out, but they finally started figuring it out. Everything coming out of DC is a flat ass lie. All Democrat leaders are absolute tyrannical scum. Right? So we have Governor Ivey saying, we're not going to submit to this fraud anymore. But up in Pennsylvania, right, in Philadelphia, they are reimposing their mask mandates. So as predicted, folks, right here on the Prepared Mind channel, me and you predicting stuff, looking at stuff, watching, as predicted, northern states want to go full tyranny. They want to go full woke. And southern states seem to be lobbying for, pushing for, and defending personal liberty, folks. The difference is stark. Difference is stark between Governor Abbott, who last week began sending illegal Mexicans that were allowed into his state. He put them on buses and was sending them up to Washington, D.C. Brilliant. Those buses ought to be kicking in anytime now. Welcome to Washington, D.C. Let them enjoy it. See how they like it. I believe Governor DeSantis was busing them to Delaware into Joe Biden's city, his little hometown. I'm sure he'll enjoy having all of that extra, shall we say, labor around, just in case he needs some work done on the house, I guess, or needs some, I don't know. Who knows what Joe Biden needs? Well, besides a little bit of, hair sniffing.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. Folks, it is Monday Night Live, just like Sunday Night Live. You have the questions. You have the comments. Hit that super chat button. Make a donation to the Get the Fuck Back and Stay Back Fund. What that does is it keeps me here in the bunker. Keeps me busy working for you, working for all America. You guys support this show, and I want to thank you very, very much for that. On top of that, Patreon supporters, people who subscribe at Patreon for $2 a month, you get to do live Q&A, live sessions with me all week long, Monday through Friday. It is a great honor for me to be in this position to work with you guys, to be able to share everyone else's ideas, concepts, input, news, and then I just I take it all in and then send it all back out, and we get to spread the word. People are waking up, folks. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing. We really are. We're doing it. You and I need your help as much as you need mine, as much as we need each other. We all need to pull together and keep fighting these bastards, because they're not going to quit. Even when it appears that people are waking up, it appears that they're losing, that they're weak, they still have tremendous power, and they're not quitting. Any situation that comes up that's negative, they turn into a crisis that they can manage and use to get more power. That's what they do. And when they can't get power through any means like that, they can create problems, false flags. Kind of like antagonizing a country until it invades another, just to have the excuse and premise that someone is the boogeyman, and then we get to blame them for all of our other problems. We had inflation, high gas prices, well before Putin and Russia went into Ukraine. Well before that, we were feeling this thing. We've been talking about shrinkflation, which has been going on for a couple of years, several years, in fact, where we keep getting smaller and smaller size packages, or the same size box with less in it, food, for example. And we're told, hey, the price is the same. Yeah, well, you're getting less. That's shrinkflation. Works great. We're told that things are effective and safe when they're not. Well, now I'm talking about the Jim Jones juice, am I not? Yeah, that's right, folks. We had that false flag, which took our eye off of the collapsing economy and the problem with our currency. And then they said, well, the solution to that false flag is another one, right? The Jim Jones juice. Well, you and I have been fighting back against that. And I think we've done a great job. It's been a lot of fun. No, it hasn't. It hasn't been any fun. And we haven't been allowed to do our good job, have we? I mean, you and I, we could all do a great job of talking about facts and truth and statistics, medical reports, but we're not allowed to literally come out and openly discuss them. On Patreon, I can link you to videos, articles, all manner of news and information to fully inform you. But YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, they don't want to let that out. They don't. Well, people are still fighting and doing what they can to get the information out that they believe is accurate, true, and in their best interest. And in the military, they've had probably the hardest time of all. Military and also medical workers. The military are being threatened. The military, you're supposed to obey orders. I also remember you're supposed to question orders that are unconstitutional. So currently, if you would, hold on to Crazy Uncle. Hold on to that thought there. Thank you for the super chat. I'll get to you in a minute, sir. But I want to get into this Marines against vaccines. We've heard of Air Force, Army, Navy officers, captains getting in trouble, fighting against this, shall I say, medical atrocity that's happening. Now, U.S. Marines. Well, there was the lieutenant colonel who came out and said, "No, I'm not doing it." Now we've got others, folks. U.S. Marines are speaking out about the Biden Jim Jones juice mandates, which are forced upon our good Marines. They did a video, folks, and Captain Joshua Hop shared that his family will lose its education benefits if he doesn't take the Jim Jones juice. Right? What's that mean? Well, when you're in the military and you spend a lot of time in there, your family get to go to college for little or no cost. It's just one of those benefits they get. Don't get a huge paycheck, but you get other benefits, right? So they stand a chance to lose that and a whole lot more, folks. And so Captain Hop says, "I have researched and informed my command," that's his bosses, "of the lack of any fully FDA-approved cerveza bug Jim Jones juice. The mandate infringes on our religious freedoms and is being unlawfully enforced. I have sworn an oath to defend the Constitution to the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I will not abandon that oath." Well, if they continue to push this on good men in the service and good women, they will force them out because they stand up for their oath. And then they're being kicked out. because of their oaths that they took. See, they don't want people to think, and they don't want people to be right and moral. They just want people in there to obey. It's the same thing that Hitler wanted. It's the same thing that Stalin wanted. It's the same thing that Chairman Mao wanted. And the same tyrants today. It's the same people again and again. They just want obedient idiots to be their muscle. Folks, we just have to thank the right people. Thank you, Fauci. Thank you, Biden. Thank you, Klaus Schwab. Thank you, New World Order. You're a bunch of bastards. Thank you very much. But they know what they're doing, folks, and they don't care. They really don't. They have no care, no compunction, no worry, no how. Right? This all plays into their hands. It makes them very, very happy. They're happy to do what they do. Don't have any reservations. They just don't care. All they want is shit to hit the fan so they can benefit by it, and you get to pay for it. All righty, let's move on to Crazy Uncle and see what he wants to talk about. Jolene, let's put it up on the board. And when it says here's a prepper tip super chat donation from Crazy Uncle. He says, never forget the best prep you will ever have is you. And that is where we all start. Now, I say food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and a plan. But I could say have a plan and then go through all the things you need. If you do not have a plan, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? How am I going to do it? And what am I going to do it with? Who am I going to do it with? Right? A plan. If you don't have that, you are severely, strictly limited in your capacity, your ability to take action for your own benefit. For your own benefit. You're no good to anyone else if you're no good to yourself first. So it is important. You are the most important thing you have. Your physical condition, your mental condition, your health, your education, all of that. So please, folks, keep investing in yourselves as preppers, as Americans, free people. And that will basically get us to where we need to go. Now, we got Crazy Uncle offering sane advice. Now let's go to the person who should be the most sane but sounds the most crazy. That would be El Presidente Gigi Biden. And while speaking about gun violence today and saying we need to get rid of ghost guns, and talking about how gun manufacturers need to be held responsible for the crimes that are committed with guns. It's kind of like, I should be able to sue McDonald's because their French fries made me fat. Sue spoon and fork manufacturers because they made me fat. Well, Biden, he put his own twist on this. And trust me, this is not going to sound correct. This is what he said, though. Imagine had the tobacco industry been immune to prostitute being sued. Come on. That's what he said. Imagine had the tobacco industry been immune to prostitute being sued. Come on. Folks, the president is a doddering, dithering idiot. Unbelievable. That's what this guy is, right? Everyone knows it too. Everyone, including other world leaders. He was off script once again and referring to smoking and prostitutes. Is he thinking about the gun industry, or was he thinking about his son Hunter and his hookers, and what Hunter smoked and is probably still smoking? But, imagine had the tobacco industry been immune to prostitute being sued. Come on, man. Unbelievable. I can't make this stuff up, folks. This is the world we live in. Now, there's this movie called Idiocracy, and it was like a comedy dystopian movie. And I thought, people can't be that stupid, but they're actually proving to us that they're that stupid. That stupid. Now, your super chat donations get you up on the board. They get your question out. Please remember that your ideas have merit, have value. I miss a lot of stuff, folks, and I get information through texts, through emails, through phone calls, all kinds of stuff. It's you guys who make this channel work. So I want to thank you for your support of the channel through super chats, through Patreon. and you inform and fill us in. And now we have Remy Marsh with a 20 euro super chat donation. And he's over there in the Netherlands. And this is what he has to say. Some support from the Netherlands. Folks, Europe is being threatened with World War III. Now, here in America, as usual, we're enjoying a modicum of insulation, not from the economic damage, but from the potential military damage. Now, in World War I and World War II, America was plunged into turmoil. We weren't immune, even way back then, over 100 years ago, we weren't immune from international fuckery and stupidity. It affected us economically because of trade. We used to be a huge exporting country, and when Europe is at war, we don't get to export much over there. It just makes things a little trickier, if you know what I mean. Anyways, Europe, Remy, they're pretty scared, folks. There's a big opportunity for the Four Horsemen to run wild, roughshod over Europe. And we have people who think that everyone owes them. Everyone owes them. So, let me help you out with what I mean by that. The Nazi member. That's right, folks. I'm going to quote a Nazi member here. His name is Zelensky. He is supposed to be the leader. I think he's the son of perdition, but he's supposed to be the savior. He's this great example of a noble leader fighting for his people. He has now said over the weekend in an interview with, I believe it was 60 Minutes, he said he's fed up with the United Nations and with NATO and all their diplomacy. And he says, I don't have any more lives to give. So when I heard that quote, I thought, this is a man overly full of himself and believing his own bullshit. He says, I don't have any more lives to give. I believe we only all have one life to give, but he claims to have lives to give. That's quite a bit of guts on his part, that he can claim that he's giving lives away. Now, let's get into what he said directly. According to a translated transcript from CBS, he said, quote, when you're working at diplomacy and there are no results, all this is very bureaucratic. That's why the way I'm talking to them is absolutely justifiable. I don't have any more lives to give. I don't have any more emotions. Interesting, folks, that he would say he's got no emotions. I believe, he has no emotional response to any of this. It's all bullshit. Basically, Zelensky is fed up with the United Nations. He's fed up with NATO. He's fed up with America. He's criticizing them. Well, they're sending food. They're sending money. They're sending supplies. They're sending guns, ammunition. There are even Europeans and Americans volunteering to serve in the Ukraine military command and being sent out and blown to ribbons because it is a war zone. It is not Call of Duty. It's not a game. This is real. But he wants to say, I don't have any more lives to give. I don't have any more emotions. He continues, folks. I'm no longer interested in their diplomacy that leads to the destruction of my country. A lot of countries have changed their mind about Ukraine and about our people, but I think we've paid too high a price for that. So he's saying that Ukraine has paid too high a price for countries to change their mind about Ukraine. What did they change their mind about? I would love to ask this guy that. This is why you can't count on mainstream media, folks, but you can count on us here. You can't count on them to give you facts or to ask really good questions. Okay, so what I would say, okay, Zelensky, you're not interested in diplomacy, and countries are changing their mind about you, but it's too much, right? You've paid too high a price. What was the impression? What was the understanding? What was the opinion the world had of you prior to Russia invading? That you're a bunch of sock puppet politicians who took power in a coup d'etat in 2014, who have been ransacking, pillaging your own country to enrich yourselves and the rich oligarchs who have supported you and sponsored your military takeover. And now we're supposed to believe that you're the good guy? And that's cost you too many lives. You've paid too high a price to get people to forget what a pile of crap you are and that you're a Nazi? Answer me, right? And of course, he would never answer that. So, back in March, early in March, Zelensky spoke to NATO directly and accused them of weakness. Do you remember that? Because they wouldn't impose a no-fly zone over Ukraine. And he said, starting from today, everyone who dies will die because of you as well, because of your weakness, because of your disunity. So Zelensky claims that everyone should be unified with him. Oh, so he's the great unifier, kind of like Joe Biden, who attacks others. Noticing any similarities, folks? Attacks others, but claims he's a great unifier. He attacks others and accuses them of doing everything wrong and that he's done everything right. Now, NATO leaders and the United States military and Joe Biden have refused to impose, to create a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Right? If they did that, then they would have to shoot down Russian planes if they flew into this no-fly zone. In other words, a no-fly zone creates World War III. Okay, Russia is saying there'll be no-fly zone over Ukraine. Everybody that wants can fly over Ukraine, right? But Russia's saying we're going to fly over it and we're going to do what we're doing. Quite interesting, folks. That is a very powerful statement on Russia's part, and it's a very powerful statement on Zelensky's part, because Zelensky was promised that he would be protected by NATO to the degree that their threats worked on Putin. Didn't he realize, wasn't he smart enough to realize that the world was not going to go to war over him? Right? So in late March, Zelensky asked for military support for Ukraine, not wanting mercenaries or guns and bullets, but the military to come in. And he says, NATO has yet to show what the alliance can do to save people, to show that this is a truly powerful defense alliance in the world. The world is waiting. So he's daring, he's chastising the world, folks. This is the greatest political leader we're supposed to believe of our time. This light in the loafers, skinny jeans wearing, dancing, singing fruitcake of an actor who became a Nazi president of Ukraine wants to criticize NATO. And he does so from a position of illogic and just basic logical fallacies. Let's ask some questions about this guy, shall we? He says, NATO has yet to show what the alliance can do to save people. NATO is not about saving people, folks. In fact, the name NATO explains exactly what they are. They're the North Atlantic Treaty Association, right? NATO, organization, NATO. It's for NATO members to protect one another. Ukraine is not a member of NATO, and NATO has been around for how many decades? At least 5 decades NATO has been around. They don't need to prove to Zelensky or anyone else that they are a powerful defense alliance. And he says the world is waiting. The world is waiting for Zelensky to step down. The world is waiting for Zelensky to surrender. The world is actually tired of this. The world doesn't have the attention span or the energy, the mental energy to deal with war. Now, oftentimes, governments have about 1 month to make the case for war, to energize the people to support it, and then to just do what they do, and the people get sick and tired of the expense, the loss of life, the sacrifices they have to make in order to fight a political war that's only going to enrich someone else. You know, people are pretty smart. They figured out what war is, but all in all, it's just ended up boring the living shit out of people. But Zelensky wants to chastise, and just, you know, my thing on this, folks, is shit has hit the fan for us too. Like Remy in the Netherlands. here in the United States of America, the people. We've got shit hitting the fan. We've got problems everywhere with our economy, our schools, our borders, our law enforcement, our local governments, our environment, our business, our infrastructure, our trade. Right? Baby formula. Now they're rationing baby formula in stores. I guess mothers and fathers have figured out we got some problems with supply chain. We better get some baby formula, enough to make sure our baby gets all the formula it needs so it can grow up healthy and strong. Right? And there's this other thing called breast milk that I hear works pretty good, but baby formula. Yeah, we got some problems of our own. Zelensky thinks he deserves everyone's attention and sacrifice. I'll tell you what, I don't think World War III is worth it to spare us a Nazified Ukraine. But there's a lot going on, folks. There's an awful lot. And I'm actually doing some more research behind the scenes. Ukraine, as screwy as it is, Ukraine, there's more behind the scenes business going on in Ukraine than meets the eye. Auto parts manufacturing, a lot of businesses gotten into there, resource management, energy development. It's incredible. All this has been going on. At the same time, they tried sneaking the military in there to the NATO military. It's very, very dirty, very suspicious. Anyways, we got Jen Parr with a $3 super sticker donation. Thank you very much, Jen. Every dollar counts, folks. Every dollar puts, well, it doesn't put filet mignon. It doesn't put lobster, but it does. It does put cans of Spam and tuna fish into the Prepared Mind pantry. Gotta love it, and I want to thank you all for it. And we got Crazy Uncle back with a $5 super chat donation. He says, I don't think I would ever see it, but they are gassing chickens by the millions in the Midwest. I didn't think I would ever see that either. He says, try that on a private residence equals a kinetic response. Folks, yeah, they're killing livestock. They're saying there's an avian bird flu outbreak. I don't know what that looks like. I've looked into it, but they're killing livestock. Avian flu. Now, I have to ask some questions. Is the avian flu for chickens as deadly as cerveza bug is for humans? Does avian flu ruin the meat so we can't eat it? In other words, can it transfer from a chicken to us? Right? Do chickens just need herd immunity or flock immunity to get over it and then be done with it? And why is it that in the last 20 years we've had a chicken flu, a bird flu, a killer mosquito virus, a hog flu, a swine flu, human flu, everything? We've had nothing but pandemic and health issues for the last 20 years, both in livestock and with us. Why is this happening? Is it accidental? Is it just a cycle in nature? Is this intentional, or is it a bunch of false flag lies? Well, since 2020, I'm starting to think of everything as a big fat lie. Really, folks. All right, we got, thank you very much again, Crazy Uncle, for your super chat donation. And again, folks, all of you and your super chat donations are just incredible, and they keep us going. Your topics matter. Your topics is what keeps the show. And behind the scenes, when I'm not in front of the camera and I'm busy just grinding away with a pen and paper and the computer looking at stuff, your guys' ideas build the next show. Your news articles build the next show. So it is you guys that make this show happen. And now we have Crazy Uncle back. He says, having preps of alcohol is great, but knowing how to make it is even better. Information is ammunition. So there really are two types of prepping. You can store the item, or you can learn how to make the item or make it a renewable resource of your own. Right? You can create alcohol from potatoes. fact, you can basically create alcohol from anything that has sugar in it. So malt, barley, that has sugars. That makes beer. That makes whiskey. Corn makes whiskey. You got moonshine. But yeah, being able to grow a vegetable, mash it, cook it, convert the starches to sugars, introduce yeast, create alcohol, then either distill it or you make beer out of it, whichever way. But that's just alcohol. And it's also, by the way, a way to preserve calories, to preserve energy, because alcohol is converted by your body back into sugars. And believe it or not, it's not a great source of energy. I'm not making that case. But your body, you can get fat off of alcohol. And it's like, how does that work? Well, the body converts alcohol back into sugars, and then we store it. Our body does in the fat. But yeah, it's a wild, crazy world. And having all of these skills, having the knowledge and information is terrific. We used to have books on how to do all this on the thepreparedmind.club because we had a partnership with Amazon. But, Amazon doesn't like to share and help. What we like to do, you and I, is share and help. So information is key, and information is ammunition. Information is energy. And if you can take the things and make a situation better, right, you're saving time, you're saving energy, you're creating things. The powerful mind, folks, the prepared mind, your most powerful tool. Your most powerful tool, your biggest gift to yourself and others is the prepared mind. All right, we got Chris P. Bacon with a $5 super chat donation. And this is what he says. I wonder if we are just depositing a lot of U.S. weaponry in Ukraine that Putin will gain as the spoils of war, just like Afghanistan. Thank you, Mr. Bacon. Chris B. Bacon checking in. The man has a point, and I had not even really thought of that until he mentioned it. Right? Are we just arming Russia ultimately? $85 billion in ammunition, drones, helicopters, tanks, bullets, guns, equipment. $85 billion was just given to the Taliban by Joe Biden. The Taliban, our sworn enemy that we went to go fight in the war on terror. And he just surrendered it to them. So are we continuing to throw billions, folks, and billions of dollars into Ukraine? And I'll tell you this. I was speaking with Chris B. Bacon before the show, and he also said, what if Zelensky gets so sick and tired? And I'm going to combine what Chris B. Bacon was saying with the articles I just covered about Zelensky, who was criticizing NATO, criticizing the United States, criticizing Europe, bitching and whining that they're not doing enough to kiss his ass and save him. What if Zelensky just says, okay, Putin, I'm on your side now? What about all of the weapons and technology that the U.S. has given Ukraine? What about all the energy technology that is being developed in Ukraine? What about all of the energy reserves in Ukraine? All the training the Ukraine military has gotten from Western forces? What if Zelensky says, okay, I'll just start being a good puppet to Putin rather than a puppet of the West? He could switch sides just like that and say, you know what, I've had it with the lying West. I may as well deal with Russia. And the reason I'm going to say that that's possible is this. Thank you, Crispy Bacon. You the man. This ties in also. Honesty at last. The Russian foreign minister, folks. This is why you come to the Prepared Mind channel, is to see what the hell's going on and what to expect and who's doing what. And can people switch sides? Can they double cross? Are they actually the people they claim to be? Or are they scum? What are they, Russian foreign minister says Russia's war with Ukraine is, quote, meant to put an end to U.S. world domination and NATO expansion. He's being honest about it, folks. That's right. They want to put an end to U.S. domination, world domination. They want to put an end to U.S. military expansionism, which is NATO expansionism, which has already landed in 15 different countries since they promised the Soviet Union and the new Russian Federation that NATO would not expand closer to Russia, and they have. Right, with the exception of two very large countries, two very important and key countries, Ukraine and Belarus. Right? White Russia, Belarus. That's right, folks, White Russia. Those two countries have not fallen into Ukraine. Now, Belarus is a strong Russian ally and kept NATO and the U.S.'s attention because they kept threatening to invade Ukraine from the north. Very fascinating stuff here. Very fascinating, folks, the way this looks. He's honest about it. Russia wants to stop U.S. domination and expansion militarily. Thank you for being honest, Russia. Now, Zelensky is not an honest guy. He never will be. He's a snake in the grass. He's a turncoat. He's a Nazi, and we all know it. Is it possible that Chris is right and that ultimately he'll surrender to Putin? I think he has no other choice. I think he'll turn over everything that he's got to Putin. What choice does he have? The West, the U.S., and NATO, as Zelensky has pointed out, are not willing to go into World War III to defend him. So what choice does he have? He is bitching, pissing, moaning, crying, whining, sniveling, and NyQuil won't solve any of his problems, right? But shit has hit the fan in Ukraine. It's hitting the fan in Russia. In fact, Russia is going into sovereign default over their debt because the United States, in its world domination efforts, controls the world reserve currency, the U.S. dollar, the Federal Reserve and U.S. dollar, and through political sanctions can keep a country from living up to or performing, I think is a better word, right? A business or a country, a corporation has to function according to contracts, that is agreements. If they borrow money or they owe money for goods and services, then they have to pay it. But what if you have to pay a currency that you've agreed in contract to pay, but you're denied the ability to use that money? That's what the United States has done. They've weaponized the U.S. dollar by freezing Russian banks from the SWIFT system. So there's no way that they can pay anybody. So how would you like it, folks? How would you like it if you borrowed money to buy a car and you agreed, this is the contract, you agreed to pay $500 a month to the bank to pay back that car, right? Pay back the loan on the car. And the bank said, we're freezing your bank account. You're not allowed to get money from work or to pay your debts. And then the bank says, hey, you owe us money. Why haven't you paid? You are now in default. And you're like, hey, motherfuckers, you stopped me from getting paid, and then you're not allowing me to pay you, and then you're complaining I haven't paid you and saying I am now in default. That's exactly what's going on with Russia, folks. They're like, we would love to pay our bills, but we can't because you froze our assets and you won't allow us to pay using your system. You've weaponized your currency, and now you've created us as an enemy. What a world, folks. What a world. Welcome to SHTF, right? Welcome to Fantasy Disco. Welcome to the wow. Anyways, I want to step up here and say thank you to Darcy T, who has made a $50 super chat donation. And she says, good evening, John. Wasn't there a bunch of idiots that went over there to help? Whatever happened to them? I believe Darcy is referring to the patriots who felt a degree of sadness and a call of urgency to defend Ukraine's, and the Ukrainian people, and the children and the women, and to fight the evil Putin and the evil Russians. They packed their bags. They paid for their own tickets. They flew their happy own asses over there And the governor or the mayor and then the president Zelensky said that they would give them bullets and guns and that they could go fight the Russians. Whatever happened to them? Whatever happened to them? That's right, folks. Crickets. Crickets from the government. Crickets, folks. Crickets from the mainstream media. Crickets from Ukraine. Where's all the thank you letters? Where is it all, folks? Where are the thank you parades being held in Ukraine? We're supposed to be worried. As Americans, we're supposed to be worried, right, about the Ukrainians. What about our people that went over the fight? Well, they don't want to tell us what happened, folks. The reports I've gotten, and I don't know if they're true or not because I'm not in Ukraine, but the reports I've gotten is that they were all sent to the front. Now, let me put you in a position of world leader. Or no. How about country leader? If you were the King of England and you wanted to fight the Scots, and so you hired mercenaries from Ireland, the Irish, and you said, I will pay you guys to come over to England, and you're going to help us fight the Scots, and I'll pay you $100,000 a piece. Well, you only get paid if you live, number one. So when the Irish come over to England to help you, the King of England, fight the Scots, who do you send to the front first? Who is the most sacrificial? The Irish. Why expend your own troops when you can use someone else's to cause as much damage as they can and to be the sacrificial lambs, the cannon fodder? Folks, I have a sneaky, terrible feeling that these altruistic, hope-filled Americans that went over to Ukraine, I have a feeling they're dead. And we won't hear about it. Not for a good long time. And we'll be told that we need to tie a yellow ribbon, that we need to care about them because they're Americans who cared about someone else. And that's true. But they went over there to serve not a people. Maybe they thought they were helping the people, but it was really an effort to keep Zelensky in power and to keep Russia at bay, to keep a puppet of billionaires, Western oligarchs, to keep him in power. And it looks like it's failing. Now, I also heard that when Americans showed up in Ukraine, they were verbally abused. They were physically abused by Ukrainian military and police the second they stepped off a plane. They weren't welcomed with bands and marching and hugs and kisses and ticker tape parade and then sent to the front. They just showed up and were treated like shit. Whatever happened to them, Darcy, that's the best I know, is a few scant reports and silence. I want to thank you, though, Darcy, because every week you come here on the Sunday Night Live, the Zoo, and you make very generous donations, and it keeps us here. I can't tell you how important it is that you keep us going. You really do. You and everyone in the Prepared Mind channel. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't be doing this. We wouldn't have an inkling. I mean, I would all by myself quietly be doing my best to figure things out and communicating with as many people as I could behind the scenes. But because we have this vast network that's grown over the last 10 years, in December of 2022, it will be our 10-year anniversary. So we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary. It is an incredible feat that has been performed, and I want to thank you for it. We've come together. We continue to network, to share, to grow, and we really do have over 80,000 people in the Prepared Mind on YouTube. It's incredible. All of that done, folks, all of your hard work done in the face of people who want us to fail, who want us to go away, who want us to be quiet, shut up, right? They want us done. You know, and who else really wants us done? Well, I'm going to switch gears on you here a little bit. Bill Gates. He wants us done. He's talked about population control. He's done all he can. Now, there was a TED Talk that was going to be held up in Canada. And their keynote speaker was going to be Bill Gates. And outside this TED Talk was a massive, folks, super protest. They descended upon that, and they had a lot to say. They did not like Bill Gates and what he was doing up there. People know who he is, folks. They don't like him. Right? They don't like him. The media, of course, won't say anything about how he's been received. But up in Vancouver at the Trade and Convention Center this weekend, the people were demanding the arrest of Bill Gates because he has outlined plans for depopulation through the use of Jim Jones juice. In other words, everything he's wanted to do is happening right now. He doesn't want us any more than Zelensky wants American soldiers in his country, American patriots fighting for him. They just don't care. They want us gone. They want us done. It's incredible, folks. We are waking up. We are a network that is communicating. Yeah, Bill Gates, incredible, folks. Incredible. Just think of this. Think of Jim Jones juice as antivirus software. What does Bill Gates have? He has a network, right? A computer network system, an operating system, and it gets viruses. So he has an antivirus for his computer, right? And he has an antivirus software called the Jim Jones juice. And no one wants anything that Bill Gates, almost Gil Bates is the other name I have for him. Gil Bates, Bill Gates. No one wants anything he's selling, whether it's for computers or for the medical community. We know what he's about because he's said so much. He's also a Jeffrey Epstein creepathon on wheels. Look at the guy. It's just, I mean, I know, okay, judging a book by its cover. Sorry, bad me. Well, actually, no. You can just tell. This guy is a creep, right? He's like an evil Mr. Rogers. We're supposed to think he's great. I want to get into this, folks. This is a big one. It is incredible. Thank you for the great super chat donations. Keep them coming in. If you have something to say, think, talk, you want to play tell a lie, tell the truth. You don't have to be famous, but I can make you famous if you wish. But your thoughts, your ideas support everything. Now, this one came across my desk today also. And it showed up in a bunch of tweets. Chinese citizens are starving. They're jumping from balconies to their deaths, folks, after weeks of cerveza bug lockdown. Is it 2020 or is it 2022? All right. Well, this is not funny, though, folks, though it's comically farcical. I think I said that earlier, right? How can we believe China when they say that this is what's happening? How can we believe any videos they show us? What are they trying to do? Justify, hide, manipulate, fool? I mean, that's what Zelensky was doing. He's trying to justify what is going on, trying to fool us, trying to get us to support him. China's playing its own game, folks. China has its own game, its own economic game, its own financial game that it's playing with the world, its own military games it's playing. It is absolutely incredible what is happening. And we're just supposed to take them at their word that they're starving. The people that live in these cities that are locked down, the people in the city are not growing food. Those people that grow food are out in the country. Okay, they're out in the country. They're growing food. They're farmers. So they're still growing the food, creating the produce, raising the livestock, and then supplying the cities. So where's all this food going? It goes into the city. And with 1.4 billion people, don't you think the Chinese could figure out that a percentage of the population should be a food delivery population? I mean, we have it in America. It's called Uber Eats. It's called DoorDash. And we managed to do that pretty well. You're telling me that very creative, innovative Chinese population that has more than enough people can't manage to carry food from point A to point B so they're not starving? Just one of hundreds of problems I have with China, folks. And they're not going to get smarter. They're not going to quit. We are at 500 people live on a Monday night. Shit has hit the fan, folks. And we're live and we're talking about it. And we got Serge checking in with a $2 super chat donation. And he says, Biden is Gates' blue screen of death. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, Biden. President Biden. Unbelievable, folks, who these people are. They've told us who they are. They don't want you to have free speech. They're losing their minds, folks. They don't want you to have guns. They don't want you to have a First Amendment, a Second Amendment. No, none of that. They don't want you to have any of your rights. They don't. They don't want your rights, folks, to exist. They want you to be their slave. Right? Gates wants to use Biden to push Jim Jones Juice mandates. And Gates has used mandates, and he's gotten in trouble in other countries, folks, like India and countries in Africa, over what he's done there. Medically, how he's killed and sterilized people using his Jim Jones juice. And now he wants the whole world to be forced to take it. Well, yeah, he doesn't want you to have your own medical decisions. They don't want you to have free speech. And the left, folks, the lunatic left, they want this death. They want communism. They want it. Now, it's fascinating, folks. I heard this because it has to do with free speech and the battle over it. And it was a big what the heck moment because Elon Musk bought 9% of Twitter and became the dominant power there. He owned the most. He was the biggest shareholder. And he was to become a board of directors member. Right? Control the company with that much. I mean, who gets to control a company? Well, the person who owns the most of it. That makes sense, yeah? But then he said, wait. He can't own more than he does, this 9% amount, and stay on as a board member. So he has declined becoming a board member. By declining that position, though, he can buy more stock. Basically, do a complete hostile takeover of the entire company and totally change everything from its employees to where the company exists, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He can move the headquarters. This is an interesting development. I still don't know what to make of Elon Musk, right? While traveling this weekend, I noted all of the Tesla cars on the road and thought, well, in a way, he's done just a piss poor job with the company. And on the other hand, the damn cars are everywhere. So I guess he's done a pretty good job. The complaints about his company, right? But people just seem to love it. I'm not a big fan of his space program. And I'm not a big fan in a lot of ways, but I'm also always interested in this guy. His name is associated with some rather nefarious prophetic works out there. So just keep an eye on Elon Musk, right? I think he might buy Twitter. I think he might. I would just love it. Oh, by the way, when I said he might move the headquarters, he said, all joking aside, let me see if I can find his exact quote. I'm not going to find it because I just have too much here, folks. There is really too much. Here it is. Elon Musk said, quote, I'm serious about this one, by the way, when he made the comment that he wants to convert Twitter headquarters in San Francisco into a homeless shelter. Elon Musk, folks, has what I would love to have, and that's fuck you money. Something I've always wanted because I've always enjoyed basically saying, you know what, I'm going to think what I think, do what I do, and be the person I am That's what I want to do. But money is that thing that always seems to restrict us. Elon Musk has more money than everyone but God, I think. I don't like his PE statements, but that's all right. Elon Musk, folks, if he buys Twitter, he can do that. He can make some serious changes. It's a crazy world, folks. It has hit the fan. Are you prepared? Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and a plan. We've got Jeff H. with a 556 super chat donation. One of my most favorite numbers of all time, 556. Those of you into self-defense know exactly what that means. And he says, why do you think we are told white supremacists pose the greatest terrorism-related threat to the United States, but Antifa and BLM can burn cities to the ground? Here's the number one reason. I'm going to tell you exactly the number one reason we, you and I, patriots, veterans, God-fearing, Bible-believing, red-blooded, apple pie-eating, Constitution-loving, flag-waving Americans. And there's something in there also about beer and NASCAR. Why are these people, parents, were called domestic terrorists by the FBI, the Attorney General of the United States government, and Biden? Parents, veterans, rednecks, militias, hillbillies, swamp billies, everybody is a terrorist. Why are they considered a threat and Antifa and BLM are not? Because, folks, if you were a government out of control, operating against the founding documents, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, if you were an organization breaking the rules, breaking the law, violating our rights, you would be afraid of a real source of power, and one that was justifiable morally and legally. And that is people who pay their taxes, who serve their country, and who are very well armed. The reason they consider us a domestic threat is not because we're evil and bad, but because we are actually powerful enough to remove them. Whereas Antifa and BLM are just a bunch of college idiots, a bunch of egg-headed communists. As violent and destructive as they are, they can be wiped out in a day, literally. And that's the fact. That is the fact. The FBI knows exactly who Antifa and BLM are. They think they're clever and cute. They communicate by the internet. They have their little secret games they play. They are no more clever than anyone else, folks. These communists, you know where to find them: college campuses, right? They're a very small bunch of people. They are not widespread. They are not all powerful. They're not in every nook and cranny in America, unlike you and I, patriotic Americans. Whether you're a suburban commando, a cul-de-sac commando, a hillbilly, a swamp billy, a redneck, right? That's a really big deal, is that we actually are a threat to them because they know that they are lying, cheating, stealing. They know that they're violating the Constitution. They know that their emergency powers that they're exercising are unlawful. They know that the Supreme Court of the United States is operating outside the scope of its charter, as well as the Congress and the president and the bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. They know they have no real right or say to do anything about firearms, none of it. But yeah, BLM and Antifa can burn sections of cities to the ground. And they're okay with that because the government knows, one, who they are, and they can stop them anytime they want. In fact, the government was allowing it, promoting it, and encouraging BLM and Antifa to do what they did in order to terrorize Americans and to blame Trump for the problem. Oh, don't worry, they're going to blame Representative Boebert and Big Marge, Matt Gaetz, and every other Republican. Madison Cawthorn, you bet. Jim Jordan, you bet. Anyone, folks, who stood up and made a case for freedom and liberty, they're going to call a terrorist. the same way King George of England back in 1776 looked at that list of patriotic men who signed the Declaration of Independence and thought, these men, right, they're bad. In modern parlance, he would have called them terrorists. It was a terrorist takeover, a terrorist insurrection. The Declaration of Independence was a terrorist document, a terrorist manifesto is what they would call it today. Whatever he called it back then when he was speaking German, because King George was actually German, not English. I'm sure he said a lot of foul things about the American colonists. That's really what this is about, folks, is freedom and liberty. It's about our rights. It's about who owns this country. It's about free speech. It's about guns. It's about being safe from government persecution and unlawful prosecution. That's what this really should all be about. But instead, we're treated to this type of shit. We've got Raheem L checking in with a $9.99 super chat donation. Thank you, Raheem. He says, I appreciate the prepared mind. I am a patriot. Thanks, John. Well, God bless you, man. I hope that you are a bigger and better patriot than any of us could ever hope. I hope we all are bigger and better when the time comes. See, that's, when the time comes, will you be ready? Will you be prepared? Right? A patriot, a prepper, a lover of life, dignity, right? A defender of truth and freedom. That's what a patriot is. Whatever your religion is, whatever your race is, whatever your country of origin is, none of that matters to me if you're a good person and a patriot. That's what comes first. So, wow, man. And then the opposite of that, folks, is people who lie. Pete Buttgagger, that's what I call him. He says kids will be killed if teachers aren't allowed to teach about sex and gender identity. Right? That's right, folks. The transportation secretary for the United States government has come out and said kids will be killed if teachers aren't allowed to teach about sex and gender. So Pistol Pete Buttgagger, professed homosexual and pro-gender confusion LGBT type guy. He says if they can save just one child's life, I guess his idea is if we can just save one life, it's worth corrupting millions of other children doing it. Is that right? Little Peter? Little Pistol Pete? Little Pete, is that right? If we can just save one child's life, then it's worth corrupting all the rest, teaching them about shit they don't need to know, they don't want to know, they shouldn't have to hear about. Kids will be killed if teachers aren't allowed to teach about sex and gender identity. How about you just take that off the board? If you got a penis, you're a boy. If you got a vagina, you're a girl. That's it. You're done. You turn 18, you can figure it out on your own. But no, folks, this is the crap we're getting. Instead of patriotism and hard work, freedom and liberty, doing what's right, we're put this kind of shit in front of us and told that kids are going to die. The same way we were told grandma and grandpa are going to die if you don't stay home and put on a mask and do as you're told. Meanwhile, the government sends sick people into retirement homes and kills off grandmas and grandpas in the not the millions, in the order of tens of thousands. Oh, yeah. That's exactly how this works. Exactly how this works, folks. Unbelievable what is going on. And it's not going to stop. Not yet. They don't have any plans of stopping, folks. Our idea of patriotism and being good is completely different from what these people think about. They're going to keep pushing their mask agenda. They're going to keep pushing all of their sick, twisted agendas. All righty. We got Crazy Uncle checking in with a $5 super chat donation. He says, just for yucks, when food gets really tight, really, really tight, think of how these entitled ass nuggets are going to react when they can't get free food and $4 drugs. He's bringing up this idea that we've talked about for years, and it's worth and bears repeating. People have been spoiled with very inexpensive food. I know I could get some flack for that because, a lot of us, me included, I look at my food bill, I'm like, I just paid $60 for what? I just paid $100 for what? I'm supposed to live on that for a month, right? It's tough. But we have it good in America. You see, Crazy Uncle says when things get tight, really tight, he's talking about disposable income. See, at the end of the month, you go to work, you get paid, you've got a little bit of money left over for maybe going on a trip or buying some luxury items, giving your kids a treat, whatever it is. That's disposable income. As inflation goes up, right? The amount you have left at the end of the month gets smaller and smaller and smaller. It gets tight. As things get tight, people are going to start flipping out. Now, in Pakistan, the Middle East, in Sri Lanka, in Peru, in many countries, people, folks, because they're third world nations, they started with less disposable income, and food inflation has hit them pretty fast. It's gotten tight, and they've started protesting and rioting. They have had to have martial law enacted, curfews, the military on the streets, just over food prices. Because they're looking around going, we can't even afford to eat, right? You have to have a place to live. You have to be able to get to work to get the money you get so you can try and buy food, right? It comes down to food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Take off self-defense. How about just food, water, shelter, and clothing? They don't even get to afford medicine. Food, water, shelter, clothing. They're just trying to live and get by. What they're saying is, well, you got to have a house, right? Shelter. Well, no clothing. Okay, so now your kids and you're wearing freaking rags. You're not going out and buying brand new Nike and Coach purses and Michael Kors. You're not going out and buying Fila and Adidas. And I don't even know what's cool anymore, folks, because I don't wear the cool shit. So now it's down to food and water and shelter. Those are the three things that people are trying to afford in third world countries. Water still is basically free. So let's take water off the list. So now you got food and shelter. How many people are going to choose food over their house? So when we get down to all of this, what the Federal Reserve, Biden, the damage done by Dr. Doom himself by locking down the world and recommending it, it just leaves people with the question, can you buy food even, right? After you remove all those other things, those are Maslowian needs: food, water, shelter, clothing, right? Health, medicine, being able to defend yourself. Well, the government's supposed to do that, but they're not. The government's out there with guns pointing them at people saying, stop protesting, stop screaming and yelling about not being able to afford food. And we got Pete Buttigieg saying, we're going to be, kids will be killed if teachers aren't allowed to teach about sex and gender and putting things in your butt and cutting off your genitals and taking puberty blockers. That's his priority. Does that sound anything like the rest of the world where disposable income is getting tight, very, very tight, as Crazy Uncle is suggesting? And it is. What happens in America, folks, when things get really, really tight, when people have to scrimp down? How are people going to behave? Will they behave any differently than people in other countries? Or will they protest and riot? To give you an example of how close we are, thank you very much again for your awesome support, Crazy Uncle. Let me do this. How about this? Miami-Dade. So in Miami, Florida, Dade County, there's a mayor there who's a dipshit. they've declared, or he or she or whatever it is, because, I'm not a biology expert, so I can't tell if a person's a male or a female. Yeah, right. And that person is now going to be on the Supreme Court, folks. Back to Miami-Dade. They've declared a state of emergency over housing affordability due to unprecedented rent increases. Food, water, shelter, clothing. Yeah, they've got an emergency, folks. People can't afford housing, which means they're choosing food first. Like I said, you've got two things left. You've got food and housing. Well, they're clearly choosing food, and the only thing left that they can't afford, that they haven't get up, is housing. That's right. So Miami-Dade has declared a state of emergency. In other words, there are areas of the country, folks. There are areas in the United States of America where the chickens are coming home to roost. Everything is an emergency. Everything is now an emergency. So any government at any level can now try and give away other people's property, take other people's property, redistribute other people's property, because it's just not fair that some people have and others don't. And in Miami-Dade, rent is so high that the government has decided they're going to step in and do something about it. So are they going to do UBI, Universal Basic Income? Are they going to do another rent/mortgage moratorium? In other words, don't pay your bills? Government, folks, government. I'm talking to the governments now. Welcome to the consequences of the problems you created. And if you're a prepper, if you're a patriot, look at what they've done to our country. Right? They want to give students an out. In fact, this one particular young lady who's been writing about the unfairness of the idea of student debt forgiveness has now been removed from, I believe it was Facebook, because that was hate speech. Discussing student debt forgiveness, if you argue with that idea, is now hate speech. Hate speech, folks, while they turn around and they ruin things so much that you can't afford food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine. And they want to take away your means of self-defense. Right? These problems have all been created by government. Government would love to say, if you people would just do what we say, everything would be fine. So, I mean, if we all quit our jobs, if we all cut off our genitals, if we all stood in line and begged, we would all get everything we ever wanted for free? Because that's what they offer. Just buy into their social construct, folks. Give up all your freedoms and liberty and accept government handouts. If we all did that, everything would be just perfect, right? Yeah, right. Fat frickin' chance. And we've seen it happen, right? We've seen perfect little communes like the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, the Chaz in Seattle, where they said, no more police, no more government. We're going to survive on our own. We don't need you guys. Well, you're getting free city electricity and free city water. I think they should have turned that off on the Chaz. They discovered pretty quick they couldn't provide their own food. They couldn't make their own food. They had no idea where food came from. So they started begging from people on the outside to send it in. Homeless people came in. That's right. Homeless are a construct and creation of government. Homeless came in and stole their food from them, which I thought was just freaking hilarious in the Chaz. All of these little communist ideas fail and fail fast. We got Never Again with a 762 super chat donation. Thank you, folks. Your super chat donations go into the GTFB and SB fund. I was reminded once again this weekend, upon visibly seeing a palm tree, I was reminded of the gentle environment of the RMZ, where the biggest threat to my security was chickens. Well, and there were some weird animals at night that I couldn't explain. Could have been Bigfoot, could have been wild goats, pigs. I don't know. Anyways, I was reminded of the RMZ, the real man zone, the jungle that I tamed as much as jungle could be tamed. And that I left there to come back here to America to fight this fight with you guys, not sitting in a tropical paradise in South America, just leaning back and drinking rum-filled coconuts and enjoying the weather. I got back here to the South because this is where I think the real fight's going to be. At least it's the area where I wanted to fight the fight for freedom, fight for liberty with other like-minded Americans like you. So never again, thank you for the great donation. He said, total destruction of the world's middle class? The answer is yes. They want to destroy the middle class. The oligarchs, the technocrats are none other, folks. They are none other than the nobility in disguise. Formerly, folks, the world had nobility. You had the king, the kings of the world. They were all related, by the way, hundreds of years ago. The king of Russia was related to the king of Germany, was related to the king of England, the king of Spain, the king of Italy. And then you had the Pope and the church, right? So you had this feudal system. You had the very poor, and they had to pay taxes to the king. But along came a class of people who said, well, we're going to offer our services. We're going to organize businesses. We're going to develop skills and trade. Right? This became the working classes, the butchers, the bakers, the smiths. Okay, right? Basic rudimentary people that would mill wool into cloth, into clothing, that would grow food, the farmers out there. They created this environment where the harder they worked, they could get a little more, they could get ahead. They became the middle class. They worked their way up. They paid their dues, their taxes. They worked hard. They took chance, right? The middle class grew out of feudal Europe, folks. But only if it was allowed by the government, the king, the dukes, the counts, the earls, right? The lords of the land, the landlords, the lairds. If they didn't tax the people to death, if they didn't tax them excessively, then the wealth stayed in the hands of the people. And not only could they better their own lives, they could help each other better their lives. Everyone prospered, and the king, the regent, or whatever lord or king's vassal they served under, they would also become immensely wealthy because of commerce. See, freedom creates prosperity. Low taxes creates prosperity for the poor people, and the middle class can develop and grow. If they start taxing the shit out of people, if they regulate, govern, and punish us so that we can't be free, then we end up with the opposite of prosperity, and that is destitution, poverty. Well, the aristocrats couldn't control the whole planet. So we ended up with this concept of democracy and free republics for the last 200 plus years. And the world grew up. It industrialized. It became technical, power, electricity, oil. All of that created, folks. And who now owns 99% of it? The rich corporations and oligarchs, the nobility. Once again, we've come full circle. They've used banking, their power, and government to tax the shit out of everyone, to control the money so that they can consume the money. And we're back to where we were 250 years ago. We're back, folks, to feudal times. There is a middle class out there, and it is dying a painful and slow death at the hands of a corrupt, consuming, tyrannical government that wants you to shut your restaurant, shut your business, shut your gym, shut your manufacturing facility. Everyone shut down because of cerveza bug. And so businesses are going out of business, and mega corporations owned by the rich are continuing to prosper, of course. The landlords, the lords of the land, they're owning all of the houses, all of the apartments that they can, And they'll continue to make things difficult so that people continue to lose their houses, and they will own nothing and be happy. Remember Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum and his Great Reset, where he says their goal is to own everything, and us, the people, the peasants, own nothing. And he says we're going to be happy about it. Folks, 300, 400, 500 years ago, peasants did not own the land on which they lived. They owed fealty. They had to pay taxes to the landlord, the lord of the land, the person that owned everything. In other words, they were renters. And even if you own property today, you think you own it, you have to pay a tax to the lord of the land, the government, the local count or county, right? Here we go again. The nobility never went away, folks. It just changed in name only. The function remained the same. What they've done, though, is they have continued to consume and tax and regulate and inflate away our money until things get so tight that we can only afford to get by. So they're shrinking the middle class. We're all becoming more poor. That's what they're doing to us. That's what they want to do, is remove the middle class and make everyone serve them. Own nothing. That's what they want. They want us to own nothing and be happy with it. Now, they can certainly do that, can't they? Because aren't they like gods? They sure think so. Folks, we've actually been going for 1 hour and over 40 minutes. We go 2 hours every week on Sunday Night Live. And this is a special edition of Sunday Night Live on Monday. We do this for 2 hours. Your questions, your comments, your thoughts, your ideas, and we spread them across the whole world. Because for now, we can still talk. And as long as we're continuing to talk and not being afraid to talk, allowing others to hear ideas we don't like maybe, yeah, it's called freedom of speech. You guys are supporting it. Thank you very much. And we've got Dorse checking in with a $45 super chat donation. Dorse, welcome back, man. Welcome back. We almost lost you, man. I'm glad to have you back. He says, 45 ACP. I was watching the live feed of the Biden administration talking about new gun control measures. That's right. The $45 super chat is in honor of the 45 ACP, my favorite handgun round, by the way. He says, these idiots cry about background checks. There's already a national background check. It's called an ATF Form 4473. That's right, folks. There's an alcohol, tobacco, and firearms Form 4473 that when you purchase a new firearm, shotgun, pistol, rifle, if that gun has crossed a state line, the federal government says they now have jurisdiction over it because it's interstate commerce. So they've attached through bureaucracy the Form 4473 that you have to fill out, right? And they do a background check on you. They do an FBI background check. Make sure you're not a criminal. So yeah, they're screaming and screaming about background checks and serial numbers. And guess what? We already have a system in place. There's already a system in place. And if it's not stopping crime, how is it that just making more of the same system is going to stop crime? Well, it's not. It's about creating a system of control. Now, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, they're not supposed to have a centralized, unified list of all the gun owners in America. They just, this whole gun registration thing, it's incredible. They want to know who has what and where. Thankfully, folks, it's not regulated the way they regulate automobiles. An automobile, you have to register and buy a new registration license or fee every year. You've got to have a driver's license. You have to carry insurance, which I think is probably a good idea to have considering the cost of repairs made to other people's property if you destroy it. But, you're completely controlled and regulated and punished if you don't comply. Thankfully, folks, we've looked at the Second Amendment with a different kind of eye, one towards freedom and liberty. There is actually an understanding in this country that, yeah, you can regulate cars and driving, you can regulate everything, but by golly, our guns are there to protect us from government, from abusive, taxing, tyrannical government. And we've maintained that idea. And what has helped maintain it? Not through the school system, the education system. No, that hasn't helped us understand gun control and how evil it is. Is it the mainstream media? No, the mainstream media says guns are evil, so they're not the ones pushing it. So why is it that the American people understand that the Second Amendment is about protecting ourselves from evil government? It's because government is showing itself on all cases to be incompetent, corrupt, and itself evil. Look at what they do. They send people to their death. They abandon people, like they abandon our allies in Afghanistan. They abandon our wealth in Afghanistan. They abandon everybody in Afghanistan. That's just one example. How about all the government experiments on people? Literal medical experiments, governments, not just the world, folks, but America also. The U.S. government, that is. Experimenting medically on people. Killing them intentionally. How about the January 6th protesters? Oh my God, it was an insurrection. No, it wasn't. It was an insurrection, and those people were committing crimes. You mean trespassing in public property? Right? Government has shown itself to be evil over and over again. People being held for January 6th crimes, parading, trespassing, have been held in prison over a year. Unfreaking believable. That's what government does, folks. It becomes more and more evil. It is a consistent and persistent evil factor in the world. And the framers of the United States Constitution, or the Constitution of these United States, rather, they knew it. They lived it. They witnessed it. They watched it go from bad to worse to 1776, requiring the Declaration of Independence. Are you prepared, folks, for things to get that bad? To get, as Crazy Uncle says, that tight? Are you prepared? Thank you again, Dioris, for the great super chat and the discussion point. The discussion point. Go ahead and hold Crazy Uncle for just a couple of minutes, and I'll get to everyone. In fact, I want to remind you, we go for 2 hours every week. But if you guys have more and more questions, I will stay longer than 2. We've gone, I think, as long as 3 hours and 20 minutes with super chat donations and questions, just flying mad. Well, we're just discussing our law, our rights, and standing up to government and understanding what government is. And in Los Angeles, folks, this weekend, Sunday, in Los Angeles, the people were shouting, "We the people will not comply." Thousands, folks, join the, quote, "defeat the mandates" rally because they're sick of the mandates and the lies and the corruption and the evil coming from California government. And if they could get away with it, folks, they would do it in every state of the union and every nation on earth. They would squeeze us, control us, tax us, destroy the middle class, and make the poor even poorer. But they can only do it if we comply, if we allow them to force us, if we give up and say, "You're the government, you are the authority." No, you are the authority, folks, us, the people. All right, let's get to Crazy Uncle now if we can. And Crazy Uncle says, it used to be so expensive for a deer tag that it was just cheaper to buy beef. Now it is going the other direction. City folks are hunting. Oh, crap. Oh, man. I tell you, back in 2014, 2015, the early prepper movement, right? Seeing that the bad times were coming, people were like, "I'll just go fish and I'll just go hunt deer. That's how I'll get my food if things go really bad. I don't need to store food." And so someone sat down and said, well, this is the deer population in this state and that state and basically the whole country. And there isn't enough wildlife to feed the American population. That would be a cerveza sneeze. The only way we can sustain in the United States of America a population of 350 million people, which is our current population, and provide enough protein in the form of turkey, chicken, hog, cow, right? And some lamb and mutton in there. And the fish that we consume is through commercial fishing and industrialized agricultural production of vegetation and livestock. The moment the farmers stop planting, the moment they start killing off all of our chickens, oops, they're doing that right now, and hogs and cows and turkeys. When they stop that, all hunting will do is remove the amount of wildlife we have to 0 or 1% very quickly. There's not enough deer, elk, moose, bison. There's not enough wildlife out there to feed America for a month. It just doesn't exist. It literally does not exist. So the idea of country folks hunting, they would kill everything off in a week. By the time city folks got there, the only thing left to hunt is going to be other city folks. And it used to be, folks, that people would hunt. In fact, I knew people that hunted to supplement their protein intake. They would buy deer tags, they would hunt a deer, and they would get that deer, put it in the freezer. So they would be maintaining the tradition of hunting for food, which is what people used to have to do when there was a lot less people and a lot more wide open real estate. But especially in the last 150 years, the human population has expanded tremendously, as noted by Bill Gates' ancestors and many others who said, there's way too many humans, we have to start killing people. But industrialized farming and livestock creation is what has allowed us to grow this big. But with incompetent government and the intentional destruction of economies, food production is going to go down. The cost of food is going to go up, and we're already having riots. We're having government saying we have a state of emergency because housing is unaffordable. Well, what about the unaffordability of food? If housing is the priority, now you don't have money for food. If food is the priority, you don't have enough money for housing. Right? Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. You've got to have all of those things. If you don't, you start sacrificing. Like I said, well, no medicine for you. Right? Okay, water is basically free. Well, not really. You start eliminating everything and you're left with just one thing. You need food, right? And that finger is for Biden, right? That finger is for Biden, right? F you, Joe Biden. He is the president. The buck stops there. He's the figurehead leader, and he is the puppet of the New World Order, the Great Reset crowd of the World Economic Forum, the Davos douches, the Bilderberg folks, the Illuminati. They are all the same people. They just have different names for the clubs that they have, and it's a big club, and you are not in it. Neither am I. I'm a nobody, folks. I'm just a regular dude out here, sitting down here in my bunker, talking with you, saying it's going to get nasty. Are you prepared? Right? Chance favors the prepared mind. It does. So yeah, the people, folks, are saying they're not going to comply with government. Defeat the mandates. We need to hold our leaders. They're not leaders. They're followers and they're beggars of massive corporations for handouts. These people are supposed to be our servants. Right? It's incredible. Defeat the mandates. The people will not comply with these mandates. But on the other side of the political scale, folks, we got Democrats and idiots. They are demanding that the human rights of Ukrainians be protected and that we do it. They want to use the military to accomplish this if needed, folks. These same idiots look at you and say, you must comply. You must obey, right? Obey government, accept the mandate, stay locked up, be satisfied to have your human rights violated, your constitutional rights ignored, and your civil rights destroyed. You should obey, even if it means you lose your house and you can't afford to feed yourself and your family. So, I mean, this is what we're up against. This is what we're up against, folks. Unbelievable. And it's not just an American problem. It's not. In France on Sunday, they had their election, and Emmanuel Macron and Marine Le Pen are the two that came out on top. And they have no mail-in ballots there, folks. They don't have voting machines, filthy voting machines, only paper ballots, and everyone must show a voter identification card. For that reason, I think France has a chance, and it's better than a snowball's chance in hell, because Emmanuel Macron, like the Democrat Party in America, has basically said F you to all the French people, to French culture, to French law. And France has a constitution, folks. They have an interesting way to go about, dealing with the law. In France, you're guilty until proven innocent of a crime you're accused of. There's some slight differences there, but they still have a superior culture compared to other nations that are squalor. But we're seeing how corruption can influence that government. It is a socialist country like England and others, and they aren't bordering on communism. In fact, they're going the other way. They're bordering on open fascism. It's a very scary world. I'm not pleased with how things have gone at all. I would think, I really thought that the world wanted freedom and liberty, that they saw the benefits of it through the experience that the American country has provided the world, right? Freedom and liberty, Bill of Rights. Look how good the world is, right? In America, how even the poor live very well. And you can become middle class just by working hard. But no, the world has basically rejected that. And America, folks, not me, not you, but the bought and paid for scumbag politicians have sold us out. Sold us out. The mainstream media has sold us out. Over the past year, folks, 769 athletes have collapsed while in competition in sports. The average age of players suffering cardiac arrest is 23. You know what caused this, folks, right? Have you gotten your Jim Jones juice? 769 athletes. Super athletes is what I've described them as, because that's what they are. These are people in superior physical condition. They're out there playing their hearts out, literally having cardiac arrest. That's not counting, folks, the ones that haven't had cardiac arrest, that have just had shortness of breath, or they develop weakness, muscle problems, nerve problems, vision problems. They can't play anymore. I'm saying 769 have collapsed. Cardiac arrest. Where's the government? Where's the mainstream media? Why aren't they fixing this problem? Why are they continuing to push it and demand more of it? That's the SHTF I'm talking about. You want freedom and liberty. They want death and destruction. That's what prepping is about. I've got an article, a letter that was put together by Uman, and I need to go through it again, having to do with what other people think preppers are, what non-preppers think of preppers. It's not what I think of them as. I just think of us as patriotic Americans who don't want to get screwed over by an obviously self-destructive government body lack of a better word, the bureaucracy, the multi-layer bureaucracy of local, county, state, and federal bureaucracy that wants to destroy us. And then tell us it's good. What they're doing is going to help us. Get your Jim Jones juice. Right. Tolerate incredible regulation and burden with taxes. And we're supposed to prosper. Give your money to other people, right? Give up your position, your wealth, because it's social justice is more important. The whole system appears designed to destroy us now. That is the SHTF that I'm talking about. And it's coming. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. We're going down that road. Are you prepared? Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and a plan. Do you have it all together, folks? Can you see what they're doing to us with the military, with our laws, with the medical system, with the education system, with our law enforcement and judicial systems? Can you see it? Can you see the education, both from kindergarten all the way through college, what they're doing to the next generation, what they did to the last 3 generations, dumbing people down, making your gender and your pronoun a priority, needing a safe space so you can cry and hug a stuffed animal if you feel threatened because somebody said something that offended you. I tell you what, folks, if I could go back and relive my childhood, I'd do it. I was picked on, I was bullied, I was attacked, I was chased, I was beat, just like everyone else. It was a good time. It was a good damn time. I was picked on because I was white, because I didn't tan, because I was white, because I was an albino. I was picked on for all kinds of reasons. Because my sister was attractive and guys wanted to beat me up to impress her, whatever the reason, right? But I talked to a lot of people who say, I would never go back. I hated my childhood. It was rough. It wasn't any fun. Yeah, there's a lot of non-fun in there, but I had a lot of fun also. But I was picked on a lot. There was no safe space. There was no safe space. You didn't get to feel safe. You felt, I've always threatened, scared to death of teachers and kids and buses and adults and, life. Life is scary. Life is not fair. Yet these idiots believe that life should be fair and shouldn't be scary and they shouldn't be offended. That's not what life is about. Life is about meeting all these challenges and winning. And sometimes you don't win the big prize. You may win 4th prize, right? You have a race with 10 people out there. There's got to be someone who finishes 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and last, as well as the champion who wins 1st place. Not everyone gets to be the winner. We all get placed in this game. And once you understand that, you're good with it, right? But when shit goes really bad, SHTF, who are going to be, well, for lack of a better word, who are going to be the winners? Or rather, who is going to suffer the least? People who are prepared to deal with this mentally, right? These idiots who need safe space, they're not mentally prepared to deal with jack shit. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. And that, the prepared mind, is your tool to help you deal, compensate, get through this, and survive it. Not sitting in the corner, hugging a teddy bear, crying, and wishing someone else would save your ass. Only you can save you. And you, by being here, are helping others because you're going to talk to them, share with them, and tell them, get prepared. It's going to be hell on earth when things get really nasty. 2020, we got a taste of it with all of the mostly peaceful protesting. We're still having problems, folks. Nothing was solved. Everything has just been kind of put off, calm down, but it is an election year, 2022, and they're going to make things worse. Very uncomfortable for us. It is coming. Thank you for the great super chats. That keeps the lights on and keeps the spam in the pantry. It keeps us doing what we do, and we have to support quite a few people with this. So your efforts, your support matter. They matter greatly, and I want to thank you for them. We're going to check out, but I'll be back bright and early tomorrow. Bright and early. We'll be doing it again and again, and I want to thank you again and again. Chance favors the prepared mind. Aren't you glad you are a prepper and a patriot? Godspeed. Semper Fi. Chance favors the prepared mind. I don't think that statement could ever ring any truer than it has in the last couple of years. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Proceed with caution.